on the East Coast, on the West Coast, 9:32 on the East Coast. Looking at some scores from the NCAA men's basketball right now. Looks like 19th ranked North Carolina beat Boston College 81-63. North Carolina advances in the ACC tournament. Boston College ends their season at 13-19. Looking at other games on the ESPN family of networks. Set Norfolk State on top of South Carolina State in the MEAC men's quarterfinal, 37-35 in the second half. Akron on top of Western Michigan, 15-7, 10 minutes left in the first half. In the ACC, you have Florida State defeating Clemson 76-73. Florida State holding off on with a shot in the last minute, with Clemson having 3 shots at the end of the game. Florida State advances to the next round. Penn State beats Nebraska 68-65 in the Big Ten tournament in the first round. North Carolina Central moving on to the MEAC semifinals. They beat Coppin State 91-43, blowing them out in the big one. Eastern Michigan 73-67 over Bowling Green. Eastern Michigan advances to the next round of the MAC. Going back to the ACC, NC State defeating Pittsburgh 81-70. NC State bumps to 20-12 on the season. Pittsburgh more than likely ends its season at 19-14. Probably will get a bid to the NIT of that. In the SEC, you have Auburn defeating Mississippi State 74-68 in the first round of the SEC men's tournament. And finally, you have TCU defeating Kansas State 67-65. Other games on tonight, you have Texas Tech and Texas at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Texas is the favorite in this game. Texas needs the big win right now because they are one of the last 4 out, I believe, in Joe Lunardi's big bracket. At 9:40 Eastern, you have Missouri, 9 wins in the season against a 15-15 South Carolina team, first round of the SEC tournament. And finally, at 9:40 Eastern, you have Virginia Tech taking on Miami of Florida. Miami is the favorite in this game. Miami also on the bubble at 20-11 on the season. And thank you so much again for listening to the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Cerrone on Spreaker Radio. Again, coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. It's a really nice night out. I went out last night to Yard House. For those from Portland, Yard House is just a nice bar and food restaurant. And I had to go take out a client, and they enjoyed their fish tacos. So if you're ever at a Yard House, try their fish tacos. They're pretty good. So going back to the NCAA tournament, who's punched their ticket to the dance? So just going to go over that. Belmont out of the Ohio Valley beating Murray State 88-87. For Belmont, it's their 7th tournament appearance, first since 2013. In the Big South, Coastal Carolina, 4th appearance, first since last season, so second back-to-back seasons. Good for Gonzaga. They beat BYU in a rematch of their regular season's meetings. Gonzaga 91-75 over BYU. 18th straight tournament appearance for Gonzaga. Wow, that's pretty intense. Manhattan in the Metro Atlantic Conference. They'll be back for the second year in a row. For Northeastern, making their 8th appearance from the Colonial, defeating William and Mary in the final 72-61. For Northeastern, it's their first bid in the tournament since 1991. I believe I was being born then, so goes to show you how long that was. Northern Iowa from the Missouri Valley defeating Illinois State. Northern Iowa read the record of 30-3 on the season, a top 15 team in the country, 7th appearance in the tournament, first since 2010. In the Battle of the Dakotas in the Summit Conference, North Dakota State beat South Dakota State 57-56. And for North Dakota State, it's their 2nd consecutive NCAA tournament appearance. North Florida out of the Atlantic Sun, first tournament appearance in school history for North Florida, so that's going to be pretty exciting. For Robert Morris, looks like it's their 8th appearance first since 2010, coming out of the Northeast Conference. Valparaiso, 54-44 win over Green Bay, 9th appearance, first since 2013, so a couple-year gap in between. And finally, out of the Southern Conference, you have the Wofford Terriers beating Furman 67-64, and they'll be back for the 2nd year in a row. So, of course, those are the teams that just got their automatic bids. We have a lot of teams that still have left to play. And, of course, it's the NCAA tournament's coming around the corner. Selection Sunday is a couple days, meaning March Madness is ready to go. For me, I've played the brackets since I can remember, honestly. Probably since I was in middle school, honestly, junior high, I guess if you want to call it that. So it's been a while. So I've played probably for about 10, 12 years in total. So I've picked up a lot of tips along the way with how you should play it out. And honestly, it's fun because you don't know. At the end of the day, you can pick what you want. At the end, and you can pick whatever you want. I remember the one season in particular that I picked Georgetown to win the national championship. This was back in, I believe, 2010 when they were a 2 seed. They lost to Ohio, not the Ohio State University, not the Ohio State University. They lost to Ohio out of the MAC, I believe, a 15 seed. Then a couple years later, Georgetown, again, number 2 seed. I picked them to go pretty far. I figured, okay, they might do well. And then they lose to Florida Gulf Coast. Now, if you want to check that out, I would recommend doing that. Check out Florida Gulf Coast NCAA tournament. Those highlights were some of the best I've seen in the last 10 years. 10 years, honestly. They were called Dunk City for a reason. They were flying, Hawaiian. They were just absolutely insane. You got to check that out. So for me, again, like I said, I've developed a lot of thought into this, and I've developed a sense of how to play the brackets. So without further ado, I'm just going to put some music underneath. Just give it a go here, and then we're going to see. Just read some tips out, and again, if you agree, that's fine. But if you don't, totally fine as well. So let's play some music without further ado. My tips to win your NCAA tournament bracket. Okay, so look at this. Number 1 on the How to Win the NCAA Tournament bracket, get a lay of the land. For me, you got to look for teams who rank really high, who've been badly blown out and lost during a regular season. These teams are statistically unlikely to win it all. High-ranked teams who have suffered a blowout loss of double digits are statistically less likely to win it all. So, look for teams who score high on basketball analytics. Certain sites offer a purely objective look at teams based off different metrics. Of course, these sites can't measure intangibles, but looking at them can be a good way to figure out which teams may be better or worse than they actually appear. And number one, in the second, last bullet point in number 1, don't limit yourself to one particular site. National news may not have access to local details, while regional information can carry a heavy hometown bias. Number 2, of course, watch college basketball. The running joke among office pool participants is that the person with the least knowledge always wins March Madness. While it can happen, it can be frustrating, believe me. There's really no advantage in being ignorant. A lot of luck goes into the games themselves, but having background information will give you an edge. You start to see which players step up into the games, which coaches have proven track records, and who can't win away from their own arena. And naturally, that'll come in handy. Number 3. Know when to use seeding. Again, take seeding or team's rank into account, but don't be a slave to it. There are often upsets, most notably the number 5 to 12 matchups in the first round. Use your bracket point system to maximize your gains, and award some points based off your winning team's initial seeding. Know the trends. Entering the 2008 tournament, number 1 seeds are 92-0 against 16 seeds. I think that trend will continue. Even if you think a 16 seed will win this year, the odds say that you're probably wrong. It's not that you're not brave, but it's just not worth taking that risk. However, don't risk taking any team above the 12 seed in the first round unless you're absolutely sure it's a mismatch. If you pick a 13, 14, 15, or 16 seed to win in the first round, you're picking against a team that, based on seeds, should be going to the Sweet 16 as long as they take care of business. Exception, Georgetown. I will never pick Georgetown again. You've disappointed me too many times. I'm not picking you again, Georgetown. Sorry. However, also realize that 12 versus 5 and 6 for 11, 11-6 games are upset city. Usually at least one of each team will win. So be on the lookout for which ones you think can make it past the first round. Again, Harvard, San Diego State. Yeah. Man, I had to sneeze on that one. That was terrible. So then, looking at the next one, know that 10 versus 7 seeds are hardly upsets, and 9s actually have a winning record over 8s since the beginning of the 65-team era, now 68. So yeah, pick number 9, pick number over 8, most of the time. And finally, ignore the rank completely starting in the Elite 8. One study has shown that the tournament's last 3 rounds are statistical toss-ups. Number 4, pay attention to the team's rebounding statistics, which indicate a team's ability to judge shot quality and to capitalize on opponents' mistakes with last-second points and second chance points and fast breaks. There we go. Number 5, take a shot. Study teams' offensive stats, free throws, and three-point shooting. That could be important factors in closing games and overcoming deficits quickly, while assists can indicate the ability to create opportunities to adjust defensive weaknesses as well as the capacity to work well as a team. Number 6, defend yourself. Focus on teams that can play both in a zone and man-to-man defense, and therefore adapt easily to the variety of teams that they might face during the tournament. Especially look at teams that can execute a full-court press for me. Full-court press is a little more popular in college basketball than it is in the pros, but it translates to a couple more steals and a couple fast breaks per game. Number 7, buck the trends. Try to find out the picks other people in your pool are making and deviate when reasonable. Choosing an unpopular team might seem daunting, but if they win, so will you. Remember, no risk, no reward. Looking at this, again, some bullet points. Be conservative about picking first-round upsets. While gloriously satisfying when they work, they often cause you to eliminate a team that, in all probability, will go a couple rounds. Save your upsets for the second and third rounds. There's usually one dark horse team that goes completely unnoticed by the national media until they blow through the tournament and upset a number 1 or number 2 seed on their way to the Final Four. Study past dark horse teams, their coaches, their metrics, and make a judgment about their intangibles. In 2010, the dark horse team was Butler, and in 2011, VCU. So just some thoughts there. Number 8, leave your loyalties at the door. Unless your favorite team or alma mater is a powerhouse, don't throw away logic to show your allegiance to it. If you can't bring yourself to pick against your team, don't fill a bracket. You can root for them to win it all. That would be a much better memory than winning your office pool anyway. But don't go all the way in if you really don't believe it's going to happen. I.e. my Maryland Terps. Sorry. Number 9, if you can, pick several different brackets. Fill out some brackets with some slight differences. That way, the bracket that you lost in a pool of friends might not be the same bracket that you use in your colleagues. Many people will fill out close to a dozen different brackets to increase their chances of winning. I know I've done that a lot, and I'll come out on top in some, stunk in others, but that's okay. And the final thought, at the end of the day, I can read you all this, but number 10 is pretty much what it is. Trust yourself. When in doubt, go with your gut. And most importantly, root from your heart. The tournament's way more fun that way. When you win, consider using the money to take everyone out for beers, or show some other way to show that you're smart enough to be an individual achiever, but generous enough to be part of a team. It's kind of nice, honestly. It's really nice. Again, my dark horse team, as I mentioned last week, Gonzaga. I'll mention my favorite right now. For me, looking at all the metrics and looking at, I've watched a lot of college basketball. I've had some time to see it and check it out. My team to win it all at this point is going to be Arizona. Arizona right now, and I'm just going to pull up the rankings just to make sure I have this all correct. Arizona is the 5th ranked team of the country, 28-3 in the season. But for me, they rank pretty well in most statistical categories. They rank 22nd in points per game. Sorry, burp there. At about 76 points per game. 40